everyone. This is a special telephone town hall meeting for members of the Telecommunications Workers Union. This is a live meeting taking place right now for members across Canada. My name is Brad James, and I'll be helping keep the call moving along tonight. Tonight you'll hear from TWU National President Lee Riggs, United Steelworkers Canadian National Director Ken Newman, and Steelworkers International President Leo Gerard. They'll be discussing the merger between our two proud unions, the TWU and the USW. I should also note that this is the third of 3 telephone town hall meetings that are taking place today. The first 2 were with hundreds of members in Central and Eastern Canada in French and English. The merger is now proceeding to a vote of TWU members. This comes after delegates to your special convention this past Saturday voted by over 78% in favor of this renewed merger agreement. We'll start the town hall in just a few minutes, but members from across Canada are still dialing in and joining in. And so while they're doing that, I want to remind you that this is an interactive session and that at any time you can get in line to ask a question simply by pressing *3 on your phone. That's *3 at any time, and you'll be able to get in line and ask a question. So it looks like plenty of members are continuing to join the call, and we'll get things started by handing it over to National President Lee Riggs.
Thanks, Brad. And again, I want to just say hello to everyone right now who's called in from across Canada to be on this call. And I want to give a special shout out to the members in Local 204 in Calgary right now, and the members in Local 209 in Grand Prairie who are having their local meetings tonight and have dialed in from their local meetings to take part in this telephone town hall. So welcome to everyone there. So today's telephone town hall, we're going to be covering a few topics, and we're going to be talking about the main points of this merger. And we're also going to be talking about the enhancements to this merger, and we're going to expand on what the enhancements were from the last merger agreement. We want to make sure that the membership is completely informed about this merger agreement. This information is out on our website now. We're going to be sending out the merger agreement as well as the merger summary document, which will be going out. And we're having these telephone town halls and local meetings across the country as well to inform the membership. We're going to talk about the voting process and how that's going to work. And then we're going to leave lots of time for question and answers here in the call so that people can put their calls forward. Now remember, all the details and the full merger agreement are at www.wearestrongertogether.ca. So as we contend with ever larger and more aggressive employers and more global corporations, every aspect of our work as trade unionists has been affected, whether you work at TELUS or Shaw or Stratcom or TigerTel or any one of our other certifications. We have to contend with these more aggressive employers in bargaining and in how they handle their grievance and arbitrations, no matter where you work. And it's the daily representation of our members, which is paramount to all of us, that we need to deal with. Of course, politics and the legislation that hits us from all angles, and whether it be provincial or federal, is something that we need to deal with and be in the forefront with. And I don't have to remind anybody about the public policy that faces the telecommunication industry, whether it be through the most recent attack from Verizon in the U.S., or whether it be changes to anti-scab legislation in the law. So we have an obligation to protect and to improve our collective agreements, and to defend our pensions against corporations who want to cut them or take them away from you. And we need to build a better future for our younger members who are coming up through the ranks now.
Thanks, Lee. Once again, if you've just joined us, this is a special telephone town hall meeting for TWU members across Canada. It's a live meeting taking place right now, and it's interactive. You'll hear from TWU National President Lee Riggs, Canadian National Director for the Steelworkers Ken Newman, and Steelworkers International President Leo Gerard as they discuss how this merger will build collective bargaining power for employees of TELUS and Shaw and other companies where TWU members work. Once again, you'll be able to ask questions at any time. Press *3 on your phone, and you'll be able to be placed in the queue to ask some questions. I'll turn things back over to Lee Riggs and get things started.
Thanks, Brad. So this merger here equips us for bargaining in 2015. As we're moving forward to that, Shaw's bargaining is just around the corner here right now. We're starting their bargaining training here next week, and we'll be electing our bargaining committee for TELUS in February of 2015. This merger here backstops us with a very large strike and defense fund, over $300 million in the strike and defense fund from the United Steelworkers, with almost a million people continuing to pay into that strike fund. It expands and invigorates our members and their activism through training, and it gives us the opportunity for growth in the TWU through organizing, and it builds upon our strengths that we have within the TWU and is only enhanced by merging with the United Steelworkers. This merger, it balances the preservation of our autonomy with the foundation and support that we've established within the TWU, and it gives us a stronger national and in fact a stronger global voice. This merger gives us the strength and the tools to meet our obligations that we have to our membership. Now I'd like to introduce Leo Gerard. He's the International President of the United Steelworkers, and Leo is a Canadian, and he heads the entire union of the United Steelworkers, and I will say is one of the most respected trade union leaders in North America and around the globe. Leo?
Thank you very much, Lee, and I got to put in also a proud Sudburyan. And let me say that last Saturday I was privileged to speak to the delegates to your special convention in Toronto. And I was extremely pleased that after hearing the results of the amended merger document, the delegates voted by over 78% in favor of endorsing and supporting this merger and moving it to the next level. This merger agreement actually blends the strengths of our two unions. We've had 18 mergers. This would be the 18th one, I should say. We have 17 up to now. And in those mergers, we've tried to take the best of each union, the best of the steelworkers, the best of the union merging into us, and build a stronger collective agreement process for the members that we're privileged to represent, but also to build an activist union, to broaden the base of rank and file participation in the union. And in this merger, we've tried to meet all those goals. As Lee said, we're going to have our Strike and Defense Fund available on day one. And the Strike and Defense Fund is pushing, I think, close to $310 million right now. And I don't want to leave the impression that the Strike and Defense Fund is some kind of magic bullet. But the fact of the matter is, because it's so large, it supports the collective bargaining process. It sends a message to the employers that you're not going to be able to starve us out. But we don't leave the Strike and Defense Fund stand there by itself. We, in fact, do pre-collective bargaining training in programs called Building Power, and we try to train as many rank and file activists as we can so that we teach and explain how to build power in the workplace to strengthen the collective bargaining process. We've built infrastructure in the union so that we create room for everybody to participate. We've got a Women of Steel program led by women in our union that has close to 4,000 active participants. We've got a next generation program where we train and develop the next generation of trade union leaders. We've got a leadership development program where we train the next generation of leaders, and that's a 4-year program where they go off-site and get trained and come back and do good work for the union. We've got a activist program for our retirees called Steelworker Organization of Active Retirees, and our view at that is that people that have spent decades in the labor movement, when they retire, we shouldn't cast them aside. If they want to stay active in the union, we create a vehicle for them to do that. We've got, as I said, a structure in the union that is trying to build an activist labor movement. One of the things I'm tremendously proud of is that we've globalized our response as we deal with global companies. We've got strategic relationships with workers in Mexico, in Latin America, in Brazil, in Australia, in South Africa, in Germany, and in England, and in fact in Great Britain. I shouldn't call it England anymore. In Great Britain, we've actually created a new union called Workers United that is registered in Great Britain and Ireland and Canada and the U.S., and they're anxious to start doing cross-border work with their telecommunications segment of their union, and so we're excited about that. We've committed to creating an organizing fund of $1 million. And at the convention, someone asked me, what did the $1 million mean? Was that all we'd ever get? And I said, no, the $1 million is symbolic. The $1 million is a statement that we want to organize in the telecommunications sector. We want to organize those that are being, what the right term, that some of the jobs that TELUS, as an example, has tried to contract out, we want to fight to keep those jobs, but if they've left, we want to go organize those contractors. We want to find the various places where we can go in and grow the telecommunications sector. Any organizing that would be successful, any of those members would go into the telecommunications local, the national local, that I'm sure Lee will talk about at some other time. So our objective through this merger, and Lee made the point earlier that I want to repeat, it wasn't really a negotiations of the way you think of negotiations. This was two proud unions sitting down and sharing ideas about how could we build a stronger labor movement by coming together. And you'll hear from Lee later on all of the commitments that we've made to training and to development. And the reason we're doing that is we believe it's important, if we're going to be effective, to broaden the participation of local union rank and file activists. Some people may not want to be on the bargaining committee. Some people may want to be on another committee. Some people may want to be the people that go out and do the training. We've committed to training facilitators that can go out and train tool courses so that they can train right in their region rather than having to spend the money to go off-site. And we're committed to all those things because we believe if we're going to confront global companies like TELUS, we've got to create a strong rank and file activist base, and we've got to operate not just walking up and down in front of a plant, but we've got to chase them wherever they are. So I'm excited about the possibility of this merger. I'm excited about what we can do to improve the lot of telecommunication workers. I'm excited about the fact that we'll be able to bring organizing to its newest level so that we can grow the movement and grow the telecommunications section of what will hopefully be the largest local union in the Steelworkers Union. So I'll turn it back to Brad or to Lee. Brad, take it over, and I'll make some other comments later about some other things. But again, I'm happy and proud to be part of this.
Once again, just before we turn it back to Lee, if you have a question or a comment, please press *3 on your phone now. Get in line, and we'll be able to take questions as they come in throughout the presentation this evening. Lee?
Yeah, thanks, Brad. And I just want to give a shout out as well to Local 4 over in the West Kootenays of British Columbia. They're at their local meeting tonight too, and they've signed in. And I'm going to turn it over to Ken Newman, who was actually worked out of Kimberley there for a while, and he is the Steelworkers Canadian National Director. Ken.
Thanks, Lee, and good evening, everyone. Let me just also thank Leo. Let me just add a few things to what Lee and Leo already talked about this merger agreement. Just so to inform you that all merger fundamentals remain in place in this new merger agreement. You will have immediate access to the Steelworkers in excess of $300 million strike and defense fund on exactly the same basis as any of our other Steelworker members. You will have the immediate support of collective bargaining and access to the Steelworkers' leading strategic campaigns and corporate research expertise. And you'll have the creation of the new Steelworker National Local, the Telecommunication Workers Union, called United Steelworkers Local 1944, honoring the year of the TWU's founding. You also geographically and organizational continuity of existing TWU locals will not be affected. And the TWU National Local will maintain your own committees while being involved with steelworker committees. The TWU Benevolent Fund and all the assets, including your building in Burnaby, remain controlled by the TWU National Union's membership and the TWU's Benefit Society Board of Directors. You will be the largest local union in the steelworkers in Canada, and as such, both your rights and our responsibilities will be enlarged indeed. Brad?
Thanks very much, Ken. Again, for anyone who's just joining, the special telephone town hall is live across Canada for TWU members. Press *3 on your phone if you'd like to ask a question. And if you don't want to ask a question live on the air, you'll be able to leave a personal message at the end of this telephone town hall event with a question or comment, and the TWU or the Steelworkers or both will get back to you after the call with an answer to your question. And so we are getting a good number of questions coming in. And our first question, we've received quite a few, and so we'll take some now and then return to some of the presentation in a moment. Our first question is from Frank. Frank, if you could give us your area of the country and ask your question.
Hi, it's Frank from Kelowna. I'm a retired TWPP member. I'd like to know what effect that the merger would have on the pension plan, if any. Thank you.
Thanks, hey Frank. Thanks a lot for that question. And that is definitely a question that we heard a lot, particularly in the last round. I think we've actually answered that question, quite well for people. There's a lot of misinformation going out right now from people, and frankly, complete untruths around this merger agreement. And I want to refer people to the merger agreement, and it's Article 9, Telecommunications Workers Pension Plan. And I'm going to quote directly from the agreement. And I want to say to people, this is a binding contract on both the parties here. And it says here in the contract here, it says that the USW will have no current or future involvement in the governance of the TWPP pension plan and has no current funding obligations with respect to that plan and will have no such obligations at any future time. To be clear, the USW will have no access or entitlement of any of the funds of the TWU pension plan, including but not limited to any surplus, and the merger of the TWU and the USW does not alter the structure, governance, or funding of the TWPP. Now that I just read there is a direct quote directly out of the merger document. This has been reviewed by our legal team at the TWU, and we've had multiple lawyers that have looked at this. And we are very, very confident. And I can tell you that not only as the president of the TWU, but as a pension trustee to the Telecommunications Workers Pension Plan for over 10 years, I am absolutely 100% confident that our pension plan, which is one of the best in North America, and that everybody on this call from British Columbia should be proud of, that the steel workers will have no interest now or in the future from that. And we have that commitment not only in this binding legal contract, but from International President Leo Gerard as well.
Let me just make one brief comment. I was really disappointed in the last merger vote because I thought that it was a good merger document. But I came to realize that there were a number of people who were from outside of the TWU and the steelworkers who were deliberately misleading and sharing misleading information. And in fact, there were people from within the TWU that were using what I would consider scare tactics and making allegations about whether or not we'd touch the pension plan. And we insisted, along with Lee, that we make it very, very clear in the merger document that the TWU pension plan is the TWU pension plan. And the steelworkers have nothing to do with it now, nothing to do with it yesterday, and nothing to do with it tomorrow. So anyone who's promoting that is really being fundamentally misrepresenting the merger.
Yeah, so absolutely. Again, Frank, thank you very much for your question. And I want to say to all of the retirees that you have my word as the president of the Telecommunications Workers Union, and you've heard that you have the word of the international president of the United Steelworkers, that your pension plan is completely unaffected, and that you have one of the best pension plans in North America, and you can take that to the bank. Thanks a lot for your question, Frank. And I'll say that we got several questions that are coming in around the pension plan, and Brian up in Kamloops and others. Hopefully that answers your question. If not, you can hang on, and hopefully we'll get to your question.
Okay, Lee, thanks very much. And I think we can move on to the next segment. While some other questions are coming in, we'll move into the next segment of the presentation, and we'll line up some more questions.
Thanks, Brad. I want to talk about some of the enhancements now to the merger agreement. First of all, is the training and the education, which is paramount here. Now, we have an engagement program that I will say is unprecedented in the Canadian labor movement. We have tripled the number of union educational opportunities for TWU members from the merger agreement that we just had. And we have 1,800 training opportunities in total, which is close to 15% of our entire membership receiving training in some form or another. Now, we've got initial focus is a broad engagement as we move forward into 2015 bargaining, which is going to happen through regional and the local delivery of building power. We've already started on training, and some folks have already gone through the building power course. And in fact, we're going to have bargaining training for our Shaw people that are going to be coming up very quickly. In fact, next week, and as well as the building power program is going to be rolling out to Shaw as they move into their bargaining coming up here very quickly. We're going to have 600 members across the country that are going to be trained in the building power program, and then we're going to have the 600 more as we move forward into future bargaining. Now, this merger agreement also commits to many more educational opportunities for our members. And for these, the steelworkers, they cover the travel costs and the accommodations, and then there's a wage stipend of $800 for wage replacement. So we're looking at doing health and safety training for 150 members, and initially there's going to be a training for 75 of our co-chairs from across the country to assist them in running the health and safety committees coast to coast. And then another 75 after that for a total of 150. There's going to be 50 members from our youth, our younger members who are now in the union in what we call the next generation training in the steelworker program. And of course, many people may have heard about the Women in Leadership program at the United Steelworkers, which is called Women of Steel. And we're going to have 50 members, 50 women that are going to be trained in the Women of Steel courses. Now, I talked a little bit earlier about being involved in legislative activities and political action, and that is going to be very paramount in the training, with 120 members being trained from across the country. Now, we know that TELUS has continued to contract out our work as well as at Shaw and other areas, and we know that there's offshoring that are going on, and many of our members are working alongside contractors. So we are going to be training 20 of our members from across the country in organizing, and the steelworkers have put up $1 million as an initial commitment, which is double the initial commitment of $500,000, so that we can go out and organize contractors in other areas of the country. And I can tell you that the call center that's down in Las Vegas right now, the steelworkers have been involved already in that and looking at that facility down there. And I can say that here because I don't think it's any secret to tell us that they've been down there. So the steelworker also have what they call their tool courses, and there's going to be 100 rank and file members that will be trained there. Plus, on top of that, there'll be training for 20 of our TWU instructors to help teach United Steelworkers courses. And these are courses like Basic Shop Steward, Advanced Shop Steward, maybe Parliamentary Procedure. But there's a whole shopping cart full of courses that are available to any member of the union, any member. So the steelworkers also have a leadership scholarship program where 35 people are going to be given 4-year scholarships to attend training in that. And these are, in this particular course, we're talking about the future leaders of the union, not the officers as it is now. These are people that are on the shop floor that come to work every day, and they're looking to work and be involved more in the union. And of course, human rights education and training for 50 of our members there. So another enhancement in this new agreement is in the area of legal support. And there's a 20% increase in the U.S. funding to offset any arbitration costs, and an initial $750,000 in 2016, and then $500,000 the next year, and another $250,000 the following year in 2018. Now, any one of those years, if those amounts are not used, then they are retained and rolled over into the subsequent years by the TWU. One of the things that we have never had in the TWU is that the steelworkers have reaffirmed is a commitment to locate a full-time steelworker lawyer here in British Columbia that we would have full access to. Now, they already currently have a number of lawyers in Ontario who are bilingual, who service Ontario and Quebec, and there's 6 or 7 lawyers there in Ontario that service Ontario and Quebec and the rest of the country. So we're very excited about that to have boots on the ground, as it were, as far as the legal commitment there goes. So we have a full range of support that will be provided by the USW Legal Department at absolutely no cost to the TWU National Local Union. And these are all costs that we currently incur. So those legal costs that will now be paid by the steelworkers if we merge are any legal issues that arise out of picket line activity, any cases at the federal or provincial labor boards like alleging breaches of duty of fair representation, any bad faith bargaining complaints that may come in, or unfair labor practice complaints also. as well as any certification applications. And with the $1 million injection of cash for organizing, those certification applications will be definitely happening. Any proceeds that may be taking place against employers to enforce arbitration awards, and this is not an uncommon occurrence, will be paid by the steelworkers. And any complex or precedent-setting grievance arbitration cases would also be handled by the steelworkers. So the TWU National Local Union would still retain all of those substantial resources to engage our own counsel when we feel it necessary for arbitrations. So I talked a little bit about the organizing, and that organizing budget, as I said, is doubled now in size as compared to the first agreement. $1 million, which will be made available during the transition period to launch organizing in the telecommunications sector. And we have the full backing here of the steelworkers organizing, their legal, their communications staff, and it'll all be coordinated by the TWU National Local Union Organizing Committee, which will be established. And any new telecom units that are organized will all go into the TWU National Local Union, which of course will only assist us in growing and continuing to flourish. I talked earlier, and the question that we had from Frank in Kelowna and Brian up in Kamloops, the full protection of the TWPP and the reaffirmation that the steelworkers will have no current or future involvement in the TWPP governance or funding, and the additional clarification that the steelworkers will have no access to any TWPP funds. Now, our Constitution will continue to govern the election of the TWPP trustees. Now, to prepare for the one-member, one-vote system for executive positions in spring of 2018, the TWU Convention delegates will determine any changes to the election of the TWPP trustees, if in fact there are any. Now, this is an internal TWU national local issue, and the steelworkers will take no position on this at all.
Lee, if I can jump in, we've got a pension-related question from Vicky. Vicky from Local 51. If you can ask your question, Vicky.
Oh, yes. The quote that the gentleman earlier had mentioned regarding the pension, the last part of it, which said, and I'm just pulling it up, but something about the surplus, or not limited to the surplus. I was wondering if you could just clarify, if there is a surplus in the pension, would it be incorporated into the merged union, or would it stay as part of the TWU pension?
Yeah, that's a great question, Vicki. It's Lee Riggs here. And any surplus that we have in the pension plan, and I'll say right now, our pension plan is fully funded and has a 19% surplus. So all of that, any surpluses stay within the pension plan. The steelworkers have no access to that and no interest in it. And I'll actually say that the TWU has no access to it at all. The TWPP is a trust, and that money is in there for the benefit only of members of the pension plan and for the payment of pension plan retirement funds, right? So that's the only way that pension surplus can be used.
Thanks very much for your question, Vicki. Once again, to other folks on the line, press *3 on your phone now to get in line and ask some questions. We do have questions coming in, so if you've got a question, now would be the time to get in line, and I'll turn it back to Lee.
Yeah, thanks, Brad. Now, we also have made some improvements to the merger agreement, some other improvements, which lengthens the time for the transition into the USW structure. Last time it was 4 years. We've lengthened that out to a 5-year transition. Our elections remain unchanged until 2018, retaining the role of convention and moving into the one-member, one-vote executive elections in the spring of 2018. So there's also a clause in the agreement, which I don't believe will be ever triggered, but it is a clause that says that any arbitration, it's a new arbitration clause that sets out a way to fairly resolve any differences that happen between the USW and the TWU in regards to this merger agreement. And as Leo Gerard said a few moments ago, this is a merger that was put together by two great unions, and we don't see that being an issue, but there is a clause there to deal with it if we need to. Now, on the stability in our dues, This, I think, is very important here. Now, we have increased services to members that are going to happen through this merger agreement without any increase in your dues whatsoever. Your dues will remain exactly the same. And with our full access to the Steelworkers Strike and Defense Fund, we will no longer need to direct the 0.4 of our members' gross pay to the Benevolent Society, which is our strike fund. Now, these funds can be devoted to other activities in support of our members, and the TWU National Local Union will contribute dues to the steelworkers. And starting in 2015, it will be 0.4% of the gross earnings of our membership, which is about 23.5% overall revenue, and that increases annually until 2020 and after that. Until it gets to 0.7% of the gross earnings of our members, which is 41.2% of the overall revenue. And the detailed financial overview that was provided by our Secretary-Treasurer at last weekend's special convention shows our stability going forward, and it's very good. So we'll soon be posting all of that financial information on our website at www.wearestrongertogether.ca, and I would encourage you to go there and look at those financials. Now, so here's the bottom line on our financials. This merger, it puts us in a stable financial position now and in the future on a pure dollars and cents basis. And on top of that, the merger agreement expressly provides TWU members immediate and full access to over the $300 million USW Strike and Defense Fund and full access to the $9 million organizing fund, plus full access to the USW Legal Department, their educational resources, their communications and research capacity, and the use of the USW's professional and expert strategic campaign staff and professional negotiators. One of the things that we have said about this agreement, and I won't put words in Leo Gerard's mouth, but this is their 18th merger agreement that the steelworkers have been through, all of them very successful. They are not designed to fail, and I'm very confident in where we are here. So delegates from across the country have gathered in Toronto, like I said, this last weekend for a special convention. And when we gathered there, we voted 78.1% in favor of a new merger agreement between the TWU and the United Steelworkers. And this very strong majority vote significantly exceeds the vote by delegates earlier this year to restart the merger process. So this increase in support shows that our delegates know that this merger will benefit the members that they represent. And this very strong pro-merger vote of our delegates came after a full review covering all aspects of the merger agreement and debate. So what is next? Well, this week, we've mailed a detailed merger summary and an overview letter to all eligible voting members. And the overview letter lists a series of merger and information meetings that are going to be happening in your region and in the weeks ahead. And of course, the full merger agreement can be read and downloaded from www.wearestrongertogether.ca. Now, there'll be lots of updates by email, so if you're not signed up to receive the emails from us yet, you can do so by visiting www.TWU-STT.ca and clicking on the Stay Informed section. Now, the ballots and the merger agreement will be mailed to members on Friday, October the 10th, so you should receive your ballot the week of Thanksgiving. And electronic voting starts on Tuesday, October the 14th, and closes on November the 7th.
Thanks very much, Lee. Once again, the number of questions are coming in, so press *3 on your phone if you'd like to ask a question. And if you don't want to ask a question live here on the air with hundreds of other TWU members, you'll be able to leave a comment or a personal message or a question at the end of this town hall event. Those calls will be noted and returned. And now we have a question from John. Let me just look up on the screen from John in Local 60. John, go ahead with your question.
Hi there, sir. I was wondering, working as a TFR.
Oh, we've got a problem. John, are you there? John's line has gone down. John, can you hear us? No. Okay. So John's question was, and we've got just a quick written version of it here. John says that with regard to working at Shaw, what does the TWU intend to do about non-union installers, and non-union people in the overall Shaw corporation?
Well, I think those are two really good questions, and John, we're sorry you dropped off there, but what I'll say in a nutshell is that we're going to leave no stone unturned there. You know, I spoke with both of the business agents that are assigned to Local 60, Tamara and Jen, and I've also talked to the president of Local 60 as well as some of the members who are on your bargaining committee coming forward, and we're going to take bargaining very, very seriously with Shaw, and I can tell you that I got a call from the vice president of Shaw here not too long ago, and they were very upset just about this merger in general. So we're going to be moving forward with it, and I think that Shaw might be in for a few surprises when it comes to organizing.
Lee, it's Ken Newman. Let me just add something to John about the question of organizing. One of the things you'll find that the Steelworkers is an organizing union, and if you look at the last 4 years in Canada alone, we've organized over 14,000 new members, and year to date this year we've got in excess of 2,000 members. And as Leo Gerard had indicated when he talked about the organizing budget, I mean it's a figure of $1 million, and someone was asking at the convention, would there be more money to come? Is one of the things you got to do is you got to work on a plan. And the fact is that you see in the agreement that you're also going to have the ability to train up people from within the TWU and work with us to put together a plan. And then you look at those opportunities such as at Shaw and TELUS and other places. So that's how we go about making sure that we increase our density and make sure that people have the fairness to a collective agreement the same as many of you have here.
Thanks very much, Ken. And now we've got a question from Linda in Local 51. Linda, go ahead with your question.
My question was, why when we just recently had a vote saying no, are we so soon doing this again, the expense and the time? Why wouldn't we wait for a year or 2 years before we consider this again?
Yes. Okay. Thanks for that, Linda. It's a couple of. It's a very good question to start off with, and I want to sort of answer the end of your comment there first. Is that why are we doing it again right now, and why wouldn't we wait? Well, we can't wait right now. Is the fact of it. We're moving into negotiations right now with Shaw. As I said, their bargaining committee is meeting as recently as next week here. And we're going to be electing our bargaining committee very, very quick right now as well here for the workers at TELUS in February. And we just frankly can't wait. We have to get this going and get everybody in place. And it takes about a year to get everything ramped up as we move into bargaining with such a large company as TELUS and with Shaw. So that's why we can't wait the year. And the other thing is, your other part of your question is, why are we bringing it back out a second time? And we are bringing it back out a second time because there was multiple locals from across the country that put in resolutions after the last vote where it was narrowly defeated. We had almost 65% of the membership that was in favor of the merger, but unfortunately it didn't meet the high threshold of 66%. But there was multiple locals from across the country that put in the resolutions to our convention to go forward again with a merger with the steelworkers, and it's all about democracy. And we're one of the most democratic unions, I'll say, in Canada, and our members have spoken, and they've asked us to put it forward, and their motion passed by a very high percentage at our convention. And then our convention, which we just had last weekend, just voted at over 78% from all of the delegates from across the country to move forward yet again. So that's why it's coming out a second time, and I fully endorse that democratic move.
Hi, this is Leo Gerard, the International President. I want to just attach myself to everything that Lee said and say that, in particular, getting ready for collective bargaining. As I mentioned about the Strike and Defense Fund earlier, we do a lot of preparation. We have a strategic research team. We do contract preparation called Building Power. We do analysis of the company's strengths and weaknesses. We look at the issues that the membership would want to negotiate. We try to figure out where our strengths and weaknesses are. And when I hear about all the contracting out that Shaw and TELUS are doing, obviously we want to do a lot of research about that, get ourselves well prepared, and do that piece. But the other piece that isn't collective bargaining that I think is urgent, the telecommunications industry in Canada is going through all kinds of discussions, whether it was Verizon or other things. There's stuff going on in Ottawa, and it's important that once we do the merger, that we bring the steelworker agenda on the legislative agenda in Ottawa, and we start to have a very, very, very active presence in the policy discussions that are going to go on in Ottawa about the future of the telecommunications industry. And my view is that the sooner we get on that, the better, because that will also have an impact on collective bargaining. So, Linda, I think it's a very good question, and it was by Lee's comments about democracy, but also about the challenge that we're facing to give good representation to the membership, both in collective bargaining and in legislative action.
Thanks, Leo. We've got a question coming in now in respect of the training commitments of the merger commitment, or of the merger agreement, and this is a question from John. John, go ahead and tell us your local and your question.
Hello, my name is John, the local 204 in Calgary. And I was just curious about, you mentioned the word tools, looking at the trades business. What courses does the union kind of offer the steelworkers that would assist the young guys for the future for hardcore training? Like, what is there facilities set up? Is there instructors there? Like, where can these young guys learn the trade, right?
Right. Thanks, John. Yeah, your question that you're talking about is more skills related, right? And
exactly.
You're talking like Cisco certification and cable splicing and that, right? So what the USW isn't putting on those work job specific type courses, but what they are putting on is courses that can lead to any type of union activism, or it could even be like public speaking, parliamentary procedure. There's like numerous courses, and if you're interested in actually looking at what the courses are that are available, you can go to the Steelworker website, which is usw.ca/courses. And you'll see all the courses that are available there for folks that want to take them.
Let me just add to what, it's Leo Gerard again, to what Lee said. We've got in particular in the steel industry a specific working program in Canada that looks at the skills of workers within the steel industry. We've got other industries where we've got labor management programs where we look at skills enhancement. We have a program that we built in the U.S. south of the border in the Steelworkers Union called the Institute for Career Development. We've been wanting to build something like that in Canada, and it's simply that we go in and have relations with our employer where we demand that there be so many apprentices for every worker, and that we build apprenticeship programs, that we build training programs, and we do that through the collective bargaining process. So, John, this is a really good question, and it's timely, especially when you look at what's going on in Canada with temporary foreign workers, where you've seen employers bringing in workers and holding their passport, and by the time you figure it out, they're working for $5 or $6 or $7 an hour, and saying that we don't have the skilled people in Canada. Well, if we don't have the skilled people in Canada, we better start training them now, and we ought to bring that to the collective bargaining table into the legislative arena.
And just on the actual training on that, John, too, we've seen a really de-skilling of the work in the trades, and through TELUS, where we used to have, particularly in Alberta, we had the actual journey person program, and we've had the certification of a journey person, cable person in British Columbia with Shaw, where the employers are trying to get out of that completely and to de-skill the work, and that's a very important aspect that the union takes very seriously, that de-skilling of the work, and we'll continue to push the employers to make sure that our people are properly trained.
Thanks, Lee. Next, we've got a question or a comment from Art in Local 60, I think. Art, go ahead.
Yeah, hi, how are you? First of all, thanks for having me on. I've been in the industry for over 35 years, and I'm looking at the young fellows that are going to be coming up into our system. I think this is a great move by our executive to take a really good look at what's going on in the industry. It's time we need to merge. We need to change with the times. We're up against corporate giants, and we've got to have the clout to take this on. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Art. And, I got to say that Local 60, I've really seen a lot of strong, young, new activists coming up. You guys have put together a great bargaining team, and, they're going to be up for the task. We've got some great training coming up for them next week here on collective bargaining, and I'm going to be, I think you and all the members of Local 6 will be very proud of your bargaining committee when we come out the other side.
Thanks, Lee. Next is a call from Edmonton, and this is Jason regarding offshoring and globalization, I think. Jason, go ahead.
All right. Thank you very much, guys. I guess I'm speaking for everybody who's got a desk job out there. What we're seeing is a lot of jobs going offshore to someplace we don't have influence in. Like having influence in the United States is one thing, but having influence in India is another. I'm just asking, what will the steel workers, what kind of strength will they give us in something that seems like it's out of our control? All this offshoring that's going to India, which TELUS says is temporary, but we all know temporary turns into fairly permanent. So I'm just wondering what kind of strength you're going to add that way.
Well, look at it's Leo, and I'm on the executive committee of, and Ken Newman is my alternate. And Ken gets to attend more of the meetings than I do, of an organization called Industrial. Industrial is a global secretariat, as we call it, a global union federation of over 50 million members. And one of the executive committee members of Industrial is from India. But India is not the only concern. We have, as I said, we have strong strategic signed documents of relationships with workers in Mexico, workers in Central America, workers in Australia, workers in Brazil, workers in South Africa, workers in the UK. In the UK, we actually formed a brand new union called Workers Uniting. It's a combination of the Steelworkers Unite, the union in Great Britain, and we're registered now in Canada, the United States, Ireland, and the UK. And doing that so that we're building what I've been talking about in our union for close to 15 years. We've been globalizing our union and having these alliances all around the world because we've got to deal with global companies now. They're not all small regional companies. And to say about TELUS, there's a reason that we've got to put the collective bargaining process front and center, and we've got to bargain about the kind of jobs in the industry for the future, but we also have to bargain that there's got to be a limit on the contracting out, and we've got to bring some of those jobs back. And when we go to do organizing, whether it's going to be in Las Vegas, whether it's going to be in Guatemala, whether we're going to try to create a relationship to go organize in India with Indian partners, we're going to have to find a way to put strategic campaigns efforts and put pressure on, we'll talk about TELUS now, put pressure on TELUS wherever they happen to have a facility. You might know a company called Rio Tinto. It's the third largest mining company in the world. They wanted to, they locked out our members, in fact, in Alma, Quebec, where what their position was when a steelworker left for retirement or quit or just left, they would replace them with a contractor at half the price, and we would not have membership. We took Rio Tinto on in 27 different countries where they had mining operations. We took them on globally, and after several months they caved. Our members won that issue. They went back to work with no scabs and wage increase. We could have never done that if all we did was walk up and down in front of the smelter or in front of the mine. We did that because we put global pressure on them. They were selling the gold to the Olympic Committee to make the gold coins for the gold medals. And we went to the Olympic Committee and said, you're using blood gold. And they folded like an accordion. So we're looking forward to working and organizing, whether it's in India or Guatemala, and working with our alliances with other unions and working through Industrial.
So once again, we have a number of questions in the queue. Press *3 to get your question in line. And also, I want to remind folks that you can sign up for regular updates from the TWU's new Facebook page. That's at facebook.com/TWUSTT. And there's no hyphen or space in that. That's facebook.com/TWU-STT. And next we've got a question from Ryan. Ryan, if you could tell us where you're from and your question, please. Hello, Ryan.
Hi. I calling from Local 16 in Vernon. I was just wondering how the companies are trying to influence the vote, and last year's vote as well, and if any of the misinformation that was coming out had anything to do with that.
Look, it's Leo Gerard, and let me respond to that. I don't think that the companies are directly playing a role, but you and Lee and others would know that better. The one thing that did happen that has me quite angry, and it has me quite angry at some unions in the labor movement, as well as some people in the TWU, in the last merger vote, which we didn't lose, we just didn't win because we had 65% and needed 66. We missed by 1%. There was a lot of misinformation. There was actually a video done that was full of lies, misrepresentations about the merger, and misrepresentations about our union and the TWU. And then there were people within the TWU from certain parts of the country who were promoting that misrepresentation. My position is tell the truth. The merger stands on its own, and quite clearly, it wasn't a negotiation. It was the sitting down of two good unions trying to figure out how can we strengthen each other and how can we strengthen the labor movement. The information you're getting from your executive, the information you're getting in the mail-out of the summary, the quote that Lee just read a while ago about the pension plan, all the commitments we've made on education, on organizing, on legislative action, they're all real. And we've started already because of the question that was asked earlier, why now? We don't have a lot of time. This is, my view is once October starts, October's finished. And in about 6 short months, you'll be in bargaining. So I don't know if the companies are doing anything. I doubt it openly. But I don't think you or we should stand for misrepresentation of the facts. You're playing with people's future. And all we're going to do is tell the truth and hope that people turn out to vote.
Yeah, thanks, Leo. And I absolutely agree with that. I don't believe that the companies were involved, in the misinformation that was going out at all. And, people just need to be, it's like somebody had said to me here a week or so ago, we're encumbered by the truth. And we're going to continue to tell the truth. And the truth that I'm saying here and have been saying is that this is a deal that is good for our members. Our members are going to benefit through this. Do not believe the lies and the mistruths about your pension plan going to the steel workers, about any of the other lies that are going out there. Look at the document, read the document, and then ask yourself if you are not going to be at a better place at the end of it. That's what I have to say about that. But I do not believe for 1 second the company's been involved in that at all.
Thanks very much, Lee. Again, we're coming close to the end of time, but we do have we're going to try to get some more questions in. And the next question is, I think, best for Lee, and it's from Kim in New Westminster. Kim, if you can give your local and your city, and go ahead with your question, please.
Hi, my name's Kim. I'm with Local 52. I have two very quick questions. One is, Lee, what does the BC Federation say or think about this merger? Are we still going to be a part of the BC Federation of Labor? The second is, I come from an office that has become very jaded towards the union because many of us feel that we were the ones that got sold out during the last collective agreement. I am looking at the possibility with 8 years left before my pension of not having a job at the end of December next year, at the end of the contract. And I want to know how this merger is going to help me and 5 other of my colleagues, or maybe more, actually keep our jobs, because we know that our jobs are 99% sure that they are going to be gone by the end of December next year.
Right.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for that, Kim. And yeah, I certainly feel your angst. And not everybody knows. I mean, I was a ladder truck guy out of Kelowna there before I went to work for the union. But I actually started my career off as a telephone operator, so I have a great empathy for telephone operators. As far as being sold out in the last collective agreement, and then the horrible position that TELUS put our telephone operators in getting rid of retail operators and moving to wholesale, and really trying to drag down all of the members in the TWU down to the horrible working conditions that we have in costs, right? And the thing we need to remember in this, to be very, very clear, is that was TELUS that did that. That was TELUS that brought us down on that, and we fought very long and hard at the bargaining table to retain as much rights as we could for the telephone operators in that. And we weren't successful in keeping retail open as much as what we wanted to do, but we made sure that we did protect the people that were there. With having like longer grandfathering clauses and that and such, right? So that's kind of my point on that. But as far as the BC Federation of Labour goes, and what does the BC Federation of Labour think about this? Well, there's two issues on that. And one is that by joining with the United Steelworkers, we'll actually have a much larger presence at the BC Federation of Labour and be part under the Steelworkers umbrella. And your question is very timely, because I actually just got off the phone literally about an hour ago, right before this call started, with Jim Sinclair, who, as you know, Kim, is the president of the BC Federation of Labour, and saying to me that congratulating me on our 78.1% vote in favor of this merger, and that if there's absolutely anything that he can do as the president of the BC Federation of Labour, that don't hesitate to call him, that this is a great deal for our membership. And I wanted to add as well that we got a letter from Sid Ryan, who is the president of the Ontario Federation of Labour as well. And I'm gonna post that letter on our website, Kim, so you can have a look at that. Okay. And it is an excellent letter. And Sid Ryan came out and spoke to our convention when we were back in Ontario here just a few short months ago. And Sid is throwing out the 100% support of himself and the Ontario Federation of Labour behind this merger. So we're very excited about this opportunity for all of our members to take a much more higher profile within the houses of labor across the country.
Very good. We've got, again, if you have a question, a comment, or anything, you can press *3 at any time as we move toward the end of the call. Those questions and comments will be recorded, and any questions we'll get back to folks, and that's what we're doing from the previous two phone calls as well. Our last question, I think if we can squeeze in one more, it'll have to be quick. It's from BJ in local 203 in Calgary. BJ, go ahead and we'll try to squeeze you in.
Yes. Hi. I would like to know if there's an escape clause if the membership is not happy after the merger is in place.
Okay, I'll sort of turn that over to Lee first, and then Leo may have something to say as well. Go ahead, Lee.
Yeah, well, I think thanks a lot for your question there, BJ. And I guess the very short answer, because we're running out of time here, is yes, there is an escape clause in this, and that escape clause would be democratically triggered by anybody who is not happy with the merger agreement, and it's laid out very clearly in Article 12 of the agreement between ourselves and the United Steelworkers. But there's never been a clause that's ever been triggered in any of their previous merger agreements that I understand, and we don't expect for it to be triggered here either.
I got no comment. That's accurate, and in fact, I want to actually go the other way. I want to invest so much in broadening the base of the union and the telecommunication workers union within our union that the telecommunication workers would become part of our organizing committee to go talk about how good this merger was and help us get more mergers and help us organize more workers. We need to be able to respond to the telecommunications industry that is getting to be more and more and more important in Canada than it ever was, and there's public policy issues that we need to get ourselves injected into.
So once again, there are a couple. There's one question that has just come in, but I think it's going to be very tight to get it because it's still in the screening queue, and we're going to come to the end of the call. And a few quick comments wrap up by Leo and Lee. And the question that is in the queue, we will answer it after the call. Thanks very much, folks.
I'll be very brief. Hopefully that we'll be able to get that call in before we hang up. Our desire is to have the telecommunications workers union merge into us, to give the service that we committed to organize and broaden the base. And all I want is for us to tell the truth to the membership, and for the membership to turn out, hopefully, and vote in the same numbers that we did at the convention, 78%. And I can tell you this, the union that stuck their nose in our last merger and fragmented and fomented the lies has basically apologized to Lee and Ken Newman, and they sent us a letter now supporting the merger. So we have no reason to have misrepresentation of the facts. Lee and your executive have mailed out the summary, put all of the information on, and I truly believe that this will be a good merger if it succeeds for the membership, not just for today, but for tomorrow, and to make sure that TWU Local 1944 is playing a major role in the development of public policy.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Leo. And I just want to thank everyone for calling in tonight and taking part. I thought the questions tonight were excellent, and they're continuing to help us to move forward as a union. Please watch for any upcoming hotlines and other updates, and keep an eye on the website www.wearestrongertogether.ca. And we encourage all of you to vote yes when the voting begins in a few weeks. So finally, feel free to stay on the line and to leave us any questions or comments after the call ends. Thanks again, everyone. Thank you to you guys that stuck it out there in the West Kootenays and Calgary and Grand Prairie. Great idea. Have a great evening, everybody.